You know, it's so easy to think that our circumstances define our lives. But what if the real power isn't in what happens to us, but in how we see what happens to us? Today, we're going to dive into this very idea, and it all starts with a concept you might think is just for artists: artistic license.
But here's the thing, this idea of artistic license, it goes way beyond art. It actually points to a fundamental freedom that every single one of us has, the freedom to interpret the world around us. It's that space we can give ourselves and each other to see things differently, to recognize that your reality and someone else's might not be exactly the same, and that's okay.
So, to really get to the heart of this, we're going to take a little journey through 5 key ideas. We'll kick things off with this freedom of interpretation. Then we'll look at how we can get stuck in the trap of a fixed mind. From there, we'll tackle the illusion of control, learn how to embrace life's mystery, and finally, land in a place of real personal transformation.
All right, so first up, this idea that we can literally choose our interpretation. And look, this isn't some abstract artsy skill. It's a real practical tool for how we navigate our everyday lives, our conversations, and yeah, even our biggest challenges. Think about it like this. Picture yourself on an airplane. When you're on the ground, the world is this huge, complex web of roads, buildings, people, right? But as that plane climbs higher and higher, that same world just shrinks until from 30,000 feet, it's just a single simple dot. So let me ask you, which one is real? The dot or the complex world you were just in? So which view is the real one? Well, the answer is they both are. It just depends on your altitude, on your perspective. There isn't one single correct view. And this is so crucial because if you think about it, so many of our disagreements with others, even with ourselves, come from us standing on the ground insisting that our view is the only truth there is. But wait, if all these different perspectives are valid, why do we get into so much conflict? Well, it's because our minds have this little habit. They tend to forget about altitude. Our brains just love to lock onto one single interpretation and declare it the one and only, absolute, unshakable truth. A piece of writing from our source material just captures this internal conflict beautifully. It starts by throwing these paradoxes at us. Is that problem in your life close, or is it far away? Are you an individual, totally separate from everyone else, or are you one with a bigger community, a bigger whole? In our minds they can't stand it. They scream out, which is it? It has to be one or the other. We crave a definite answer. We want to nail reality down, make it solid and certain. But what if that's the wrong question to begin with? The answer the poem gives is fascinating. It says it all depends on the observer. Reality isn't some fixed thing out there. It's more like energy that assembles to expectations. In a way, it's an old idea that even kind of mirrors modern physics. The act of just looking at something can change it. Your intention, what you're looking for, literally helps shape the reality you experience. And this whole desire to nail things down, to have one fixed reality, well, that points us directly to our deepest, most ingrained habit, the illusion of control. It's the main tool our mind uses to try and manage a world that is, let's face it, pretty uncertain and full of contradictions. This line just captures that internal tug-of-war perfectly. We can literally see life unfolding in its own mysterious way, full of surprises. And yet, that deep-seated need inside us to manage everything, to predict the outcome, it just hangs on. So what is this illusion of control exactly? Well, at its core, it's a survival mechanism. Our brains are basically wired with this belief. Control equals safety. If we can just manage every little variable, predict every outcome, then we'll be safe from harm. But as we all know deep down, that's just not how life works. And this isn't just some harmless mental quirk. It can be genuinely dangerous. One participant shared this incredibly powerful real-world example. Imagine a food handler who thinks they have it all figured out. They develop what's called an optimistic bias. They get so confident that they actually become the most resistant to new safety measures. Why? Because they think, hey, it's always worked for me before. Why change now? They get complacent, and that is exactly when disaster can strike. Okay, so if trying to control everything is a trap, what's the alternative? This brings us to the real turning point in our journey, making a conscious choice to shift away from control and move toward trust and acceptance. There's this brilliant little story from a woman named Maria. She was describing how stressed out she was about a situation she couldn't control. And then a friend gave her this amazing analogy. Imagine you're in a speeding taxi in Istanbul. You can't do a thing. You just have to sit back and trust the driver knows what he's doing. And the moment Maria adopted that mindset, she said, I realized that it was much more comfortable. The situation didn't change one bit, but her experience of it totally transformed. So how can we actually do this in our own lives? Well, it starts with step 1, just acknowledging what you simply cannot control. Then, step 2, you reframe your experience, just like Maria did in that taxi. From there, it's about actively practicing trust, and this one's my favorite, allowing yourself to be surprised. And here's a really critical distinction. Letting go is not the same as giving up, not at all. It's about opening a door. When you stop trying to force one specific outcome, you create space for mystery, for unexpected connections, for things to unfold that are often way better than what you could have meticulously planned in the first place.
And when we really start to practice this, letting go, trusting the process, that's when we get to the final and most powerful part of this journey. This is where profound personal transformation happens. Claudette shared this incredibly moving story. After she had a stroke, something completely outside of her control, she discovered a whole new way of being. She realized, you know what? It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay not to know everything. And that acceptance allowed her to live with uncertainty in a way she never could before, unlocking this amazing new level of creativity and resilience. This right here, this is the ultimate paradigm shift. Our minds love to think of our identity, our sense of I, as this fixed, solid thing. But true transformation happens when we start to see that I for what it really is, fluid, evolving, constantly being reshaped by new experiences and new insights. And this reveals the ultimate freedom in this whole process. You don't have to wait for the world around you to change. When you change internally, when you shift your perspective, your experience of those very same circumstances can transform completely. And that leaves us with one final thought to reflect on. If you are not a fixed entity, if your I can evolve and change with every new insight, what new possibilities does that open up for you, starting today?